Welcome to the latest edition of the Mom's Playbook podcast. My name is Heather James, and as always, I'm joined by my pod partner, Jasmine Zor. In each episode, created by sports moms for sports moms, we dive into the intricacies of raising a student athlete, from managing practice schedules and travel arrangements to insider tips on recruiting, all while balancing our careers. We know each sport has its unique challenges, and we aim to explore and understand them all. Along the way, we share stories, enjoy some laughter, because, as moms, we understand the chaos, but wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Let's jump in.
All right. Today we're here with Teresa Parlette. She's a mom of four and a lacrosse mom to her three sons. Her oldest, Carter Parlette, graduated from Notre Dame, and he played on the two-time national championship team, and he's currently playing professional lacrosse for the Boston Cannons. Her son, Nolan, plays for the Air Force, and her youngest, Tanner, plays for Stony Brook University. Welcome, Teresa. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So a little about yourself. Tell us a little about your background, maybe your husband, did he play sports?
All right. I would like to say my husband and I are both athletically inclined. I was a cheerleader growing up and a dancer in college. And he did start off playing football and then just kind of died off of that a little bit and just did club things instead. We both graduated from Eastern Kentucky University. He's in like corporate sales for heating and air conditioning, and I am a algebra teacher at our high school.
Oh, very good. Very good. And now you had four children, you three boys, and you somehow you raised your three boys to that level athletically. A little about the beginning, how you got them all started in the same sport, and how you got all of them involved.
Well, it started all in Pop Warner football. We had a gentleman who had moved to Oviedo, Florida from Syracuse, New York. He played at Cortland, SUNY Cortland, and he started a lacrosse program in our neighborhood. And the boys wanted to go to, he was doing like a free trial. He had sticks for them all to come and try it out. And Carter at that time was in second grade. And so he came home and said, Mr. McCarthy's going to have this lacrosse program and I would like to join. And my husband's like, lacrosse? We're from Ohio. Lacrosse was nothing that we knew of. We didn't know how to help. Jeff's like, I don't even know how to help them. But Carter went and he absolutely loved it. So both of my boys joined. And then Tanner was he always came to all the games. So then he started playing. So that's how that all started.
And so what was in the beginning it was just practice and a few games here or there, but what was the typical schedule of them as they progressed, and how did you navigate getting them all? Were they all on the same team at some point, or how did that all work?
No, so they started playing lacrosse in Oviedo when they were young. We then joined something called Sweet Lax Lacrosse, which is a bigger club. It was for this whole state of Florida. So it was more of a tryout process. So kids all around the state would come and try out. And Carter was the first one to join that team. Then from there, we did the same thing. So you had a club level, like of your town. And then you had like a state club that you played for. So they played for both teams. The Florida team, the state team, it was called Sweet Lax. We would travel. When I say travel, we would travel to New York, we would travel to Connecticut, we would travel weekends to Pennsylvania and do tournaments. All three boys, they're 2 years apart, so none of them were on the same team. So it was all like, a crazy schedule for a long time. Like I would go one weekend to Pennsylvania, come home, travel the next weekend with another kid to somewhere else. Sometimes they would overlap where they had two different tournaments at two different locations at the same weekend. And I still had, Tanner at home and dogs. So sometimes you would just have to rely on other families to take your child. And we had such great families we helped people, they helped us. Everybody was just juggling to make things work.
I wish we had that kind of travel with football. We didn't. It's always
Yeah, it was
local.
a lot of fun. It's some of our best memories. When you get to sit in a car for a long time or a plane or a hotel with your kid for the whole weekend, and it's just fun, like it's those times you can never get back. They're not sitting in their bedroom by themselves and playing a video game. They're actually sitting in a car 2 hours helping you navigate through. New York and Pennsylvania, and you're like, where do I turn right here? Do I turn left here? Where do I go?
I
So
gotta
it
say, I
gets
agree. My most cherished memories are traveling to camps, whether it was, like, going to a college campus or whether it was going to just a specific long snapping camp. The travel time in the car, the conversations
right.
are things and time that I'll never get back with my
Yeah,
kid. I tell my friends all the time, "Embrace that. Don't let them put their headphones on.
right.
Don't let them veg out." Like, use that opportunity to talk
Yeah,
goals, what they want out of life, like, all the conversations. You don't get your kid locked into that space very often, and when you do,
right.
you need to embrace it because
Yeah,
soon they'll be 25 and working 18 hours a day, and you don't get to talk to them.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's some
That's
of
nice to hear
our
that you
best time.
also embrace that time because that's
Yeah.
I'd say that all the time. It's my favorite part of him growing up and going to the camps was the drives to get there.
Well, and it was a lot. It was a lot of scheduling, and I was the scheduler. Like, luckily, I'm a school teacher, so I had summers off, and most of our travel was in the summer. That's when everyone was able to do that. And I just had a calendar, and I would old school write it down in different colors of who's going where and hotel. It was a lot. It was a lot of juggling, but it's time that we'll never get back, and it was great memories for sure. And it
Now
worked out for him.
do you guys have when they were in school, was lacrosse a high school sport in Orlando?
So we stayed in Oviedo, Orlando area for a while. Our high school lacrosse team was not very good. And so at this point, all my kids were playing two sports. They were playing Pop Warner football and lacrosse. Carter, when he turned into like eighth grade, seventh grade, maybe seventh, eighth, he stopped playing football because he was afraid he might get hurt for lacrosse because he was pretty talented. We had thought about moving because Carter was very much approached by a lot of prep schools. So they wanted him to move to Connecticut, one particular school, and live there and play lacrosse. Now, lacrosse players professionally do not make a lot of money. So we were like, we are not going to give up our 15-year-old kid to go move to Connecticut for someone else to raise him. I mean, Carter would have loved it because he would have played lacrosse all the time. So we actually moved our whole family for lacrosse to where we are now, to Ponte Vedra, because Ponte Vedra is a great public school system. It's St. Johns County, a wonderful lacrosse program, traditionally known to be very good. We had a lot of friends who lived here. Carter already knew them. I was a school teacher. I knew I could get a job wherever. My husband travels with his job, so he's like, I can live wherever. So we actually put our house up for sale in Oviedo by owner. We sold in 2 days. It was just meant to be. And we moved our boys here. Our daughter was already in college. So when we moved here, boys knew people because of lacrosse, and it just worked out for them. And our high school team won one state championship. Should have won state championship number 2, but COVID hit, so we didn't get to play. But we would have had two state championships for sure. That team was loaded and unbelievable. So we've done a lot for our boys for lacrosse. I mean, not too many people pick their whole family up and move them, but it was the right choice for us, and we're happy that we got to do that and was able to.
My son played lacrosse a little bit. I was clearly that football mom on the sideline who, when the flag was thrown, just, like, lost my mind at first because I'm like, the flag? What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
stop the play." I had to learn. I was that obnoxious person, though, for a little bit. My kid was bigger than everybody else, and so
Right.
he got penalized a lot,
Yes.
even
Yeah.
though
Yep.
he was playing fairly.
Right.
It was definitely like hitting a wall when a little tiny kid would,
Yep.
hit him. So
Yep.
he got put in the penalty box a lot more than he probably should have, and I didn't like that, so I was also
Right.
that obnoxious mom.
Right.
But lacrosse is so different. It's known as the fastest sport out there. Lacrosse goalies play the most dangerous position in all of sports next to baseball catchers, believe it or not.
Right.
And you're right, Ponte Vedra is, I used to call it, like, the Northeast is, like, the hot spot for lacrosse in the country, and I used to say that the Jacksonville area was, like, our Northeast, like, when you
Yeah.
played those club teams, you got smacked. I
Oh,
mean, we
yeah.
got smacked.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
beat us into the
They
ground, but it was
dominated,
fun.
and it's crazy, like, Jasmine knows our boys played Pop Warner football together, and when you would go to Pop Warner practice, the place was packed, right? There were just thousands of kids, parents watching, and when we came to lacrosse practice here for our very first time, it was the same way. I was like, look at all these people. Like our youth program is amazing. Like we just have, it's just a huge draw here. I don't know what the difference is, but it's just different. So
Is does lacrosse recruiting start at the high school level where they try to pull these kids to these academies? Is that kind of like when you know, okay, my kid might be able to play at the college level as they're being recruited by high schools to move out of state? Is that kind of how it works?
yeah, yeah, like the prep schools for sure. Yeah, if you're one of the top, they'll try to recruit you to. And it is good for the kids. There's a lot of families who, like up north, live near these places, so their kids can stay home and go to these great schools. But for us in Florida, you would have to move your kid out there. We just
Yeah.
weren't willing to do that.
Asmund, did Jacob ever want to play lacrosse?
No, he kinda went more baseball, because here in Oviedo, it was kind of you had
Yeah,
the kids that played football and baseball and the kids that played football and lacrosse.
The hardest part for lacrosse is I think the hardest part for the growth of lacrosse, especially in our area of the state, is you have to pay for everything yourself. So you're buying that expensive helmet, you're buying
mhm,
the sticks, and everybody needs more than one stick, and it has to be laced the proper way,
right.
and, it's an expensive sport.
It is.
So,
It is.
a lot of our over here in our county, we don't have it at every high school
Right.
really because of the expense. Not every
Yeah.
school has enough players interested or that can financially afford to play lacrosse,
Right.
in
Yeah.
our area.
And as parents, I do have to say we spent money. I mean, like, we paid that money forward for what my kids got at the end,
Yeah,
the travel, there were fees for all of our clubs that we played. You had to buy the uniform, you had to buy the helmet. I mean, as with anything, there's an expense, and it is expensive. And you do feel bad for the kids who can't afford to do that.
yeah, it just hinders the growth. I think a lot more kids,
Yeah.
like football, you come into it and you get your helmet when you go.
Right.
So I think that the fact that parents have to pay for that just hinders the growth because it's a
Right.
great sport. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fast, it's fun to watch.
Right.
There's a learning curve if you're a football mom, but it really is a fun sport. Like I had a
Right.
little attitude about it going into it because people compared it to football, and it's
Yeah.
nothing like
It's totally
football.
different. Yeah.
But it's fun, and the fact that
Right.
they can hit
Yeah. Yeah, it is, it's very entertaining. It
is
changes on a dime, like, it'll be one team's way ahead, then 3 minutes later, the other team is winning, so it's a pretty quick sport.
it's fun to watch on TV at the college level, both the men's and the women's. I find
Yeah.
both of them are super entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you chose not to send him up there. How did you gain college visibility? How does that work? Like, how do they see him?
Right. So, with our state Sweet Lax club team, when we travel around to like Pennsylvania in the summer, there's always coaches sitting at every sidelines. College coaches come to all of those tournaments that we attend. And they'll sit and watch, and they've got sheets on who's who, what's whose number. If they, your kid's numbers on it, and they write things down. When Carter was first, I think he was in 8th grade, they were able to start recruiting at that age. They did change that where it was like, now I can't remember. It was like your sophomore year. Does that sound right?
Sounds more like
What is
football.
football? Yeah,
Yeah,
what is football? It's like not it's August 1st or September 1st of your sophomore year, something along those lines, which is more realistic. I mean, like when oh, they're just so young, at that point. So Carter originally committed to Syracuse going into his freshman year, and then he decommitted and then committed to Notre Dame. And then my second son, Nolan, always knew he wanted a military academy. So yeah, that worked out for him. He's that kind of kid. He loves it. And he is also a goalie, so he's a little up there. Yeah. So he's my goalie, and he is my hardest one to watch as a mom. That is a hard position to watch because you're like, "Oh," everybody's happy when someone scores, and then he lets a goal in and everybody goes, "Oh," and it's just, it makes me nervous watching him. I usually I've sat in a lot of cars during his games because I just can't watch.
really. What do they
Yeah.
say? The ball comes in at 100 miles an hour often, especially at
Yeah.
the college level.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Oh,
ball is
absolutely.
flying.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So Carter and Nolan, both in high school, were on the same state championship high school team. Nolan was in goal. He was our goalie. And so that was the game. My husband called me the last 2 minutes. He's like, "Teresa, you gotta get in here. We're gonna win this game. Stop, get in here." So I did come in at the very end, but I just couldn't. I had the I yeah,
You
you could.
sat in the car during the
I
state
did.
championship.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my
I
god.
watched for the first 5 minutes and then I went back. I paid twice to get into the game.
Oh,
I mean, it's a big position, and anything like solo, like you guys, it's a solo position. It's not a group
Yes.
effort on that. We have 2 of them. There's a face-off guy and a goalie, and those are the solo guys. And it just as a mom, it's hard to watch.
Now, did you ever catch? Did you ever play catch?
Oh, no. I
No?
can't, no, no. My husband would, he would go outside with them with the sticks and throw around, but no, I never did.
You're lucky. You had 3, so the boys could, like, warm each
Yes.
other up. I didn't have that. My son is an only child, so I had to try to learn, and I would use my baseball glove. I That ball is hard, it hurts, it bruises, and I was not very good with a stick. So I
Yeah,
tried. I'm a pretty
right,
athletic person.
right.
He would
Yeah,
just sling it at me too ha I just did not have the ability to catch it. So
right.
goalies, even though their stick is bigger, obviously,
Yeah,
the fact that they catch those balls flying in like
right.
that, I've always felt is
Yeah, we
just
were very
impressive.
fortunate, like, m everyone, I have to feel like that was a part of my boys surrounded themselves with friends that had same goal-minded. So they would on a Saturday morning be like, "All right, we're all meeting at the field at 9 a.m." They would bring Tanner, my youngest. My one would be the goalie, and then they would all shoot and like they would all practice so hard just on a Saturday. And I mean there would be ten kids that would go out and do that at the local field. And, they would go to their coach and be like, "Hey, can we get some balls?" He'd give them balls because, they'd lose them in the woods so it has been powerful, the people they've surrounded themselves with that have same things that they wanted in life. They all were trying to get to college on lacrosse. A lot of them did it. They're all just determined individuals, and it was great.
and now when they get to college, how does the scholarship walk on? How does that differ from like that's what our we know like the walk on, preferred walk on, different things in football like that. But in lacrosse, how does that differ?
Yeah, that's a great question. If there's ever been any walk-ons on any of my son's teams, that I don't know. Most of them get recruited, and then we meet and do like a recruitment day where all the kids get together, parents come, and we watch a game, talk to coach, walk around campus, those kinds of things. Like once they are recruited, walk-ons, I don't know about if there are any of those on lacrosse. There could be, I don't know. But for my own specific children, how recruiting worked was they might get a phone call or an email from a coach like, "Hey, we watched you play last weekend at your tournament. You drew our interest. We would love to speak with you." Kids would talk to them on the phone. They would, talk specifics about what they saw, what they liked, how they think that they could be a good fit for their program. My kids would do a little research and see if that seems like a good fit for them, and then they would say, "Hey, would you like to come and check out our campus?" And you do a recruiting visit, and they can talk about money with you, like, "Hey, we've got this amount of money we can give you." There's really not too many full rides in lacrosse scholarships, but you can get some good money for sure. So once my kids did their visits, where they felt comfortable, where they thought they would be a good fit is what they chose.
How many schools did you visit with each of your boys?
Probably 4 to 5 each
That's
kid.
pretty good.
Yeah,
All academies for the middle?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think so. Yes, I think
Awesome.
so.
Academies have good lacrosse programs, though, so, I
Yeah,
mean,
and, he's done really well. School's not easy, it's hard, but he's pretty successful at that, and he's got an internship this summer where, he's working for Microsoft, doing a 6-week program. So, he graduates next year. It's nuts how fast it's gone.
I will say it is nuts how fast it goes. Like, you
I know.
work so hard getting there, and then you blink,
Right.
and it's like, "Oh my gosh, it's senior night." Like,
Right.
what just happened?
Right.
So I know for football, we have 85 scholarships. They're all full scholarships at the D1 level. There's no partial scholarships for football, but for lacrosse, there's only
12
12.6.
full, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they can break them up, which you're not allowed to break anything up at the D1 level in football.
right,
So they sit down, they talk to you about kind of I don't it's none of my business what the numbers are for your boys,
right.
but, um, how does that work? Do they say, "We have XYZ dollars, we need you" do they help you get the academic money as well? Are they kind of involved with that side of things too? Or how does it kind of I don't know, is it tandem, I guess, is the real question?
Right. Well, like for my youngest, he does have both. He has an academic and an athletic scholarship. The school was totally separate for the academic. He received that later. The lacrosse program actually gave him a money dollar amount. And they said, it looks like with your grades, you can probably expect this amount academically. So then we were able to kind of know where we would be. So that worked. Carter going to Notre Dame, he's not getting any academic money.
It's a tough school.
um, yeah. So that was just we just knew what that was going to be. And that did change for him a little bit as NIL started coming in and whatnot. So that was good for him. And then obviously the academy is free.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
plus it
Yeah,
was
no,
great.
that's what, like, I would love to just have you on just to talk straight academy.
Yeah.
My son was recruited got a West Point offer, which I
Yeah.
grew up an Army brat, so
Hmm.
that was probably the most emotional offer that he got that for me, I just was super proud.
Right.
But learning, I don't think people understand how academies work. I don't
Yeah.
think they understand that, yes, it's free, but you have to join the service, and
Hmm.
it's XYZ number of years based off of
Right.
a lot of things,
Right.
what your plan is. So I'd love to talk to you about that separately because I think it's just a really good learning opportunity for people to understand. Yes, it's a full ride scholarship.
Right.
Yes, you can say those words, but really you're also like you're
A
signing
lifelong,
you're joining the
commitment,
service.
really
Like,
and
yeah,
truly.
yeah.
Yeah.
You are going to be an Air Force. You are going to be a soldier. Like,
Right.
that's just the way it
Right.
is, which is great
So
though.
Nolan actually also joined the club. What was it that CrossFit team? He loves working out. And so he went to coach in the fall and was like, "Hey, I've been working out with the CrossFit team and they want me to join." But he just loves their facility. Like they've got this amazing facility. He likes doing the crazy kind of stuff, not just lifting. And coach was like, "Hey, you're working out, go for it." So he actually went to a meet at Army and he's like, "It's sick." He's like, "That campus is unbelievable." So he
Yeah.
loved it.
I wanted mine to go on a visit to Army, but also we knew he wasn't gonna go there, so I didn't wanna waste their money
Yeah.
and time.
Well, you can kind of tell if a kid's all in it or not, and you need to be all in because you will be miserable if you're not.
Yeah, no, it's not a normal college
Yeah,
experience at all.
yeah,
So, you said he has an internship. I know at Army in the summer, that's where they do their more of their basic training stuff because
yes,
during the regular part of the year, they're doing straight football, they don't have time to do the other parts that's
right.
required for a service academy. So, does he do that in the
They're
summer?
usually broke like the last few years. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but the last few years, everything's broken into 3 different weeks. So it's like 3 weeks you do some type of training, then 3 weeks you do a different type of training, then 3 weeks you get like off. Usually you can go home for 3 weeks. Yeah, they do call it the chair force. So this time, since I think he's a junior, you have an option to be able to do an internship if you have like a percent of like your grades have to be there. You have to apply. Not everybody gets something like that. So he was very fortunate to get.
I can't imagine an internship with a Microsoft is very easy to
Yeah.
stumble upon. It's probably very competitive,
Yeah,
to get
for
in.
sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
does he
we're
wanna
proud
go
of
into
him.
computers? Is that his goal with the Air
No,
Force?
he's in the business program. Nolan really never thought about flying until he went there and realized how great it is. Because most kids want to go there to fly. But Nolan is colorblind, so he's not allowed to. There's a lot of things that he got knocked out of that he's not allowed to participate in, so he can't fly.
Because if you're colorblind, you can't read the radar screens.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. I actually have a friend, I'm not gonna say if it's male or female or what branch of the service, but this friend is colorblind and actually flies. Very successful, and I have no idea how they read the radar screen, but they taught themselves because that was their life goal
Right.
was to do
Well,
that.
and I think each branch has a separate number that you could be, like, colorblind to
Oh,
pass to be able to fly.
very interesting.
Like, Nolan's like, "I'll go fly for Navy," and, they said, "Well, you have to get this certain number," and he was way off the mark, but yeah, he's really
So,
colorblind.
what was it like being a national championship mom?
Oh,
Twice.
twice,
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Um, amazing, amazing. Like, I well, first of all, Notre Dame parents are unbelievable, and, it was just fun. I'm gonna tear up.
I would too. I would too. That's incredible. And to do it back to back, to do 2, in your 4 years of eligibility, maybe 5 with COVID,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
unheard of. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, I it was fun. I mean, like, there's a lady that our boys played lacrosse together, like, at the club level, Sweet Lax, Florida, and they both ended up going to Notre Dame, and they live right, like, 45 minutes away from us, so I already knew her, and then I knew another person because they not only did they play Sweet Lax, Florida, then you could join the national team, you had to be asked to join so then we also joined the national team, and our Sweet Lax national team was amazing, like, we were really good, and so 3 of those boys went to Notre Dame, and I already knew those moms, so it was just fun for me. I was a little selfish, like, I loved going because it was like, "Oh, this is so fun," for myself, and, they just know how to do tailgates the right way, and it was such a great experience, but yes, the national championship, my husband and I the other night were just sitting watching TV and there was nothing on, so we turned on and watched the national championship again.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fun. Everything brings you joy when you can watch your kids play a sport that you know they love,
Yes.
and we enjoy watching all 3 of our kids play, and, we're not there this weekend, and we've had guilt not being there. Both away this weekend. Nolan is, in Chicago playing Marquette, which I know that they're just at a local site. I don't know why they're not in Milwaukee, but they're not, and then Tanner is at Towson playing this weekend, and I have huge guilt not being there, but when they're away games, sometimes you don't get to see them very much. So we're going next weekend and the following weekend. So we chose to take this weekend off, but nothing brings you joy like watching your kids play a sport that they love.
Yeah, thank you for fitting us in on your off weekend.
Yeah,
Mm.
you're good.
Pretty important because look, Saturdays during football season,
Yeah,
I am just unavailable. I
yeah,
apologize.
yeah,
Everybody knows it that knows me.
yeah,
I'm not available.
yeah,
And even when mine was done, on Saturdays, if I'm not, I don't go to as many games. I went to every game when he played. I'm going to follow a question up with that because lacrosse has way more games than football. But even now, I'm on the couch watching and
yeah,
cheering and
yeah,
I just love the sport as well. I've just grown to I just love college football. I love
right,
college athletics in general.
right.
But how do you balance 3 boys, 3 different locations clearly now all over the
Yeah,
country? How
yeah,
do you balance your schedule traveling and how often do you get to games?
yeah. We get to a lot of games, actually. Some people are like, "Wow, I'm shocked you're here. You have to travel all the way from Florida because we'll go all the way to Long Island," and they're like, "You're here again?" Yeah. We make it work. We really do. I'll go without a new outfit just so I can pay for a plane ticket to go see the boys play. So I do feel like we go a lot. Well, I'd love to go more, but it is what it is. I Juggling has always been hard, but we've made it work. A lot of times we divide and conquer. My husband will go to somebody's game and I'll go to someone else's game. Unfortunately, sometimes when they were all 3 playing, like I had last year, was tough because I had a senior in high school. And then Carter was a senior at Notre Dame, and then Nolan was a sophomore at the Air Force Academy. So that was tough to make all of that happen because it just seemed like important games all fell on the same time. And we had to choose who to miss. And you just hate missing anything, but you just can't be everywhere at one time. All my boys understand. They get it. They're supportive of each other. I hate to say my kids are perfect, but they really don't fight. They're not like, "Oh my gosh, mom and dad were just there," They get it. They are all about supporting one another, really and truly. Like, not too long ago, there was something that happened with it, and Tanner's like, "Well, I might be I don't know, man up, man down, whatever." And so Carter, like, watched film with him, like, "Let's watch your film." And, I mean, like, they really are supportive of one another. They do probably don't talk as much as they should, but they do like, "Let's go, boy," "I saw you on TV," "You kicked ass," all those kinds of things. It is fun to watch it all go down. But
It's a
we would
great
love to
bond.
travel more, but I feel like we do a pretty good job of juggling as much as we can. And, again, just like you guys probably, they're such great families that my boys have found their people, and those are the people I want them by. They're great. The parents are great, and they're like, we're gonna take Nolan to dinner. We're gonna take Tanner over here and get him dinner. Like if we're not there, they bring him in and give him the love that they need for that weekend. So it's such supportive people. It's great.
Carter was playing for the Boston Cannons.
He actually just got traded to the Carolina Chaos.
Okay. Well,
A
Yeah.
little closer to home?
Yeah, but, I this is all new to me. I didn't know how any of the PLL worked, but they travel every weekend when during season, so they don't just play at their home field. So, like, they all might like, all the teams would go to Carolina and play one weekend, and then all the teams go to New York and play at one location. So,
Oh.
there's just not just a ho they're just called that, I guess.
so how was the process from playing at Notre Dame to when he did go to Boston? And how does that all that work?
He had gotten a phone call towards the end of his season that there were some professional teams looking at him and that he might get drafted. Um, but he didn't know it. The guy said it just depends how the draft goes. They only get so many picks. And if they pick some of their guys, then they might have to pick their other ones. So then he wouldn't get picked, during the draft. So we watched the draft just like everyone else did, and he didn't get picked. And I was like, well, they said that you might not get picked, but they picked him up the next day. I guess you get to pick up a couple people, so they picked him up the next day, which was great. He didn't play. All he did, because he would, he's a short stick D midi, and they had their three. So, but he was on their roster, and he just watched film with them and all those kinds of things. And then for this tournament they just did this fall, winter, whenever it was, just recently, he was picked up to play, and he played well, and he did good. So he just loves playing like all of them, right? So anytime you get a chance to coach or to play, you're excited because it's just what you love to do.
Yeah, you're still involved no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, Carolina Chaos is an incredible name. Like, that's a
Yeah,
great name
right?
for a team.
They do have some pretty good names, I
Yeah,
do have
that's
to say.
actually really, really good. Um, yeah. So when it comes to, the idea of them all playing in, like, the same location actually to me sounds really genius because you could take a youth team
Yes.
and go watch 4 or 5 games maybe
Yeah,
in a day
that's what they
and
do. Yeah,
build the sport that way since it's
right,
not I don't know, I mean, a lot of kids play. I was looking at, USA Lacrosse just kinda catching up because 'cause it'd been a little bit since I paid attention. My son stopped playing, in high school because his when he transferred his freshman year, didn't play after that because the school that he transferred to didn't have it. So I sort of kinda quit paying attention like I did,
right.
but the number of kids in America that are playing lacrosse is incredible.
Yes, it
The
is really
history of
growing.
lacrosse is incredible. If anybody's just like a history buff, and going back and looking at, like, the Native Americans and, you know, the whole history of lacrosse is really, really cool. Totally different than football. But, I think that's a great way to build, to have them all at the same place in a weekend. Definitely different than, like, a football, but I get it when it comes to, like, financials of paying for the
Right,
facilities, and if it's not a sport that's generating millions and millions and millions of dollars,
right.
it's a great business plan.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
how does NIL work? And I don't need numbers or anything like that, please. But, like, what is NIL like in lacrosse
That
versus
is a
what we
great
hear?
question. I am just the sideline mom. I really don't know.
Yeah?
I couldn't even answer that. I have no idea.
So you don't know if it plays a role in the recruiting side or in the transfer portal side where it clearly is affecting, the major sports like football, basketball, soccer,
Right,
baseball. We're seeing
right.
complete baseball rosters wiped out when a new coach comes in and then he rebuilds those with NIL and other monies. It's not like that in lacrosse?
I really could not answer that. I have no idea.
That's interesting. That's really interesting to me.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, think about college athletics right now. That's all we hear about is
Yeah,
NIL this, NIL
right.
that. So to hear a
My
current
guess would be this is just a guess. I have
okay.
that it would be more on the bigger sports like football and things. I wouldn't think, I mean, I do think they're getting some NIL money because but to what extent and how is it for recruiting? That I don't know.
Yeah. So those conversations did not happen with your youngest?
No.
That's so interesting to me. I mean, I know it's not gonna be the same as other sports. I get it.
Yeah.
And same thing with, like, women's gymnastics. They're probably
Right.
not gonna have the
Right.
same, focus. But I just wonder how it is affecting all the different athletics because we keep hearing it's gonna change
Yeah.
everything, and
Right.
is it? Like, might not change lacrosse at all.
Am I not?
Which I don't have a problem with. Not that I don't want them to see them get paid, but, like, I don't wanna see things
Right.
change either. I like the way we do college athletics, although I think they all should get paid. Um,
Yeah.
I don't wanna see things change too terribly
Right.
much.
Right.
Right, Jasmine?
Right.
We talk that kinda nonsense all the time.
Well, it's crazy the differential in all the different sports, depending on the sport and the position in the sport.
For us, like, obviously, Notre Dame has the Kavanaugh brothers, and if you know any, I mean, like, they're probably getting money, but, I mean, but I have no idea, like, what, but, I mean, they're very well known, very popular, fantastic family. When I tell you the best family, and no wonder those boys have the drive they have because their parents are like that, I mean, like, it's great people.
There wasn't a conversation. You didn't actually walk in, or your husband walk in with them, have a conversation with the coach, and help negotiate anything. There's not that kind of a meeting or anything like that.
Jeff did all Carter's recruiting. I took I don't I took Carter to a couple places. Um, but I mean, I think Carter, when he was doing Notre Dame, did negotiate himself a little bit.
For him.
But yeah, but not really. Not too much.
That's so interesting because the money differential, 85 scholarships for football versus 12.6 for lacrosse, to me is wild because lacrosse rosters have exploded
Yeah.
as the sport has grown. So we're seeing what, 40, 50 kids on a roster? And you have 12.6 scholarships or 12.
Why you don't really see too many kids get a full ride, right? They're
Yeah.
splitting that in different ways and what works for you, those kinds of things.
Baseball is very similar. They split it up and the opportunity to have a full ride, mainly comes from a place like an academy where everybody there is not paying, right? So you do technically get a full ride.
Right.
So it's very interesting.
Right.
Very
Right.
much like
And,
baseball, I think.
I mean, my kids were given great opportunities. I mean, could they have gotten into those schools on their own? Who knows, but that's kind of why we did what we did to get them into those schools that we knew would be good for them.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure that Notre Dame degree weighs a lot, weighs
yeah.
heavily, and is
Yeah.
very positive. What do you
Right.
major in?
Business. Yep. So he's
All
working
business
in New
guys?
York City. Yeah, he's an analyst. So loving it.
Nice.
Loving it. Yeah. He calls me. I feel like he's always being arrested. Like when he's walking, I'm like, are they after you? Like, all you hear sirens going. Like, oh my God. It's nuts. But he is living in the city and loves it.
Wow, that's great. And so
Yeah.
is lacrosse professional lacrosse kind of like a part-time job?
It is. It is. It's an addition to.
In
Mm-hmm.
addition to that, I like
Yep.
that better than
Yep.
part-time job.
Yep.
In
Yeah.
addition to. That's a way better way to say it. I like
Yeah.
that.
And now
That's
does it take from his real job to where he has to like leave on Fridays, or is he taking time off? And does his employer, I mean, do they work with him with that?
They do. They were super supportive of him when he just did this tournament. They watched him, but Carter did also work during the day. So he would work as much as he could. He worked, virtually, and then, because a lot of things he can do is just write on the computer. So he would work and then go to practice, come back, work some more, go to a game, come back, work some more.
Kind of
So
like
he did put his time in.
it's like juggling
But
college still,
yeah.
in a good way,
I
right?
mean, yeah, that's just what they're used to. I mean, they're
yeah.
used to being busy, and I think are more successful when they're busy. Yeah.
The
So
downtime is when you get in trouble or you get off track or you lose focus. So I think that I know with mine, him staying busy with everything from ninth grade on, because he went to a school here in Florida that was very focused on winning, and they did win. And so that culture really carried over to college, which now is carrying over to his career. And it's why we see student athletes land jobs quicker because they're used to getting up at 5 a.m. and doing all the things that it takes to play.
Yep,
So
percent.
it just feeds over into the real adult world
Yep.
and they find success. I'm super grateful that mine did it.
Us too. I mean, like, they have immediate family too, the college that they
Yes.
go to, right? They have immediate friends, all like have a same common theme of what they like. Parents are supportive, kids are, determined. So they have instant friends that have the same goal-minded mindset that they have, and it's great. They all work hard and they help each other out.
I think that's a great point just in general for parents to understand as you do walk into an immediate friend group
Mhm.
instead of walking into this giant campus. Notre Dame is not a small place. It's not a huge one. Like
Right,
Jasmine and myself, our boys went to school that wasn't a huge campus, but still brand new, don't know anybody. But when you play a sport or you go into even a club sport, you just have instant friends and that
right.
loneliness that some students have and feel
Absolutely.
isn't
And the
there 'cause
coaches
they
take care of them, they make
yeah,
sure they have what they need, and they might say, "Hey," tell an older boy, like, like my youngest son, Tanner, is not allowed a car on campus. That's their rule at their school freshman year, which I love. But sometimes he needs to go to Target, and they can Uber, but a lot of times coach will be like, "You guys, the older boys, take these boys and get what they need," which is great.
yeah, that's awesome.
Like he went to dinner the other night with spring break, and the cafeteria is open during spring break because they have some international students that don't travel home or kids. But he said the menu is very limited. So I don't know if coach organized it, but Tanner went out to dinner to Logan Steakhouse or whatever, Roadhouse, whatever it is, and with a bunch of different kids that were different age groups. And I was like, I bet the coach set that up. Like everybody takes some kids out to eat, which I think is great for bonding and getting to know people outside your little bubble that you're hanging out with from your team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I mean, it's just nice. It makes you feel good as a parent.
So you have 3 boys, all play the same sport, very different teams. Notre Dame, powerhouse, everybody knows it for a lot of different reasons, not just football, but a lot of reasons. They're pretty awesome in women's basketball too, I'm gonna throw that out there. You have a kid at the academy, which is unique in its own right, and then Stony Brook is not a school that
Yeah,
everybody probably recognizes the name. So
right.
what's it been like seeing the differences in those 3 different schools?
Right. There is a difference. In a sense, like bigness, you say Notre Dame, everybody's like, "Oh, Notre Dame." You say Stony Brook, they're like, "Where's that?" you know? Um, but when I tell you what we're fortunate to have been able to see so many schools that we have seen on the recruiting side because we would have never known about Stony Brook. I've heard of it before because we have a friend who it's a big medical school. So when Tanner came out, he's like, "Hey, Stony Brook's coach just called me. I've looked it up. I'd like to go visit." I was like, "Where- New York, Long Island?" I was like, "I don't think so." So I was fortunate enough to be the one to take him on that one because when my husband would take him, I'd be like, ask a million questions. How was the visit? What was this like? He's like, Teresa, you should have went. I don't know. I mean, I'm like, so I was so happy to go on that visit because when I tell you, if you've never been, it's a beautiful place. If the weather were just a little bit warmer, I would think about moving there. The food is amazing. The people are super friendly. It's just nice. Like everything about it is really pretty. And when I tell you the families are super awesome, he's excelling and he's not my outgoing child. He's a little bit more reserved. He's my quieter one. So I was like, I hope he does all right there. He has blossomed. I mean, like it's been great. So, there's different levels. It's still a D1 program. Is it a different level of D1? Absolutely, right? We all know there's different levels of all of that. But his team is very good. They've been very successful. He's learning a lot. He's working hard, and that's really what you want for your kid. You want your kid to be happy. You want your kid to fit in. You want them to feel successful and be successful. And we've checked all those boxes. And so I think that's when you start looking at schools, you have to know where your kid belongs. Has there been rocky roads for all of my kids? 100%. You know, um, your kid goes from being a superstar in high school, right? Every mom knows this. They go to college and they sit on a sideline that they've never stood on before and they're like, "What is going on?" Like, "Oh, shoot, I suck." I got to get better. And you want that for your kid. I mean, you don't want your kid just to go in and be like, oh yeah, this is easy. This is, so everybody's had their bit of, oh, I think the coach hates me. He doesn't like me. He yells at me. And I'm like, well, if the coach doesn't yell at you, he must think you stink. He wants you to get better. I mean, that's what I've said to all three of my boys. They wouldn't yell at you. They wouldn't make you work harder. They wouldn't, if they didn't believe in you and think, and they see something in you,
They're not invested if they're not talking to you.
Yeah. So, everybody's had their role on the team to be different. And, but that's just the way it is. And it makes you who you are. Right. So,
Think a lot of people don't realize, they think D1, they think the Power 4, previously the Power 5, all these big things, but when you get into the different sports that are not the main football, basketball, baseball, like, it does break down in a school like Stony Brook is a D1 program, which is
right.
super impressive. Like,
Right.
anytime you hear somebody say, my daughter played D1 college sports," like,
Right.
that's
Right.
impressive, but they
Right.
don't realize because lacrosse is so different, gymnastics is different, those kind of sports are so different, you don't realize that who is D1 at those kind of in those
Right.
levels, right? You don't
Right.
realize it. So you don't know that that's he's probably playing really, really good lacrosse right now, you know?
Yeah. And the way the lacrosse world is changed, it used to be Syracuse, it used to be John Hopkins, Notre Dame, and those teams, and that would Duke, and that was it. Now there's so many talented kids. The talent has, shared throughout the country that every team is pretty good. Like there's not just a couple powerhouses. Every team's, I mean, and they give, like, Air Force just played Duke and they gave them a little bit of run for their money, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just like there's just a lot of talent spread throughout every school.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good
Yeah,
to see it grow because it does it is growing throughout the country,
right.
which I think is important. It's growing here in our county. In Florida, it used to be absolutely nothing, and it's
Right.
really grown. We have a good friend whose son, as you mentioned, was being recruited by some of those upstate,
Yep.
kind of northeastern schools for high school. He was going on some recruiting trips where they were trying to get him to head out of state. He ended up going over to Orlando to a private school that has a really, really good team.
Mhm.
um, Nice to see him stay in Florida,
Yeah.
and be able to claim being developed in Florida. I think that's always
Right.
important for our
Well,
state,
I
but
mean, I think they're so young. They need to be close to home.
yeah, I can't
Too
imagine.
young.
I'm selfish. I could not even imagine I struggled with my son being 3 hours away.
Right.
So when he got his first job out of college and he was 8 hours away for the last couple years, I don't like that. I wanna be near him. I don't wanna be, like I do not wanna be over top of him.
Right.
I'm not a helicopter parent, but I like my kid.
Right.
I wanna visit my kid. I wanna be part of my kid's life.
Right.
So I think that's important too. I could not
Absolutely.
imagine. I respect the parent's decision, don't get me wrong. If
Yeah.
that's what's best for your child,
Yep.
you know, I'm a former teacher. I know, like, everybody's educational path is very different, especially in 2025, but I know me personally, selfishly,
Yeah.
I would not have done it.
Well, and we've just been fortunate too to have some great coaches that have dedicated their whole life to these kids. And, not only did our club team, Sweet Lax, help my children get recruited, but really some of our best high school coaches, like they really helped out and um, did what they could to help them as well. I mean, I can't say enough about them. Like, coaches are just special people.
This has been a really good opportunity for Sweet Lax to get some really positive, PR right now. So are they still a top program here in the state?
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but there's some more that have joined. Like, at the beginning, there was only Sweet Lax, and they and we were new to the program. My kid was like his year was like the first year of it, there, around there. But now there's some other teams, clubs that have came in, and so there's like little sections that you could join. Yeah,
Yeah. I've heard Sweet Lax before. The fact that you mentioned it, I was like, "Okay, that was
yeah,
not my kid was never good enough to play that,
yeah,
at that level, but he really thoroughly
yeah.
enjoyed it, and it was
Now,
great for
now
him
my son,
running."
we've had some people who've never done Sweet Lax, and they still played at a college level. I mean, like, it's doable. It's not something you have to do. If you're we've always told our kids, if you're good, you're good. They're going to find you. Like, you'll make an impact somewhere and someone's going to see you. So,
That's very true.
yeah.
But what would you say was the secret sauce to their success?
It had nothing to do with my husband and I. We did nothing. I don't think there's anything you can do. I think my kids all just had that drive, and it started with Carter. And then my other two watched his, like his determination, and they were like, well, that's fun. And he would take them, like I said, to the park and let's work hard, and and they would train together. And so it was just a process. I put it all on my own children, like. And to the gentleman John McCarthy, bless his heart, who passed away, I mean, if you've ever watched my kids, they all have 31 on the side of their helmets for him, because if it weren't for him, they would have never played the sport. And so we offer a lot to their, I mean, like, we praise their family, like, thank goodness he came and did that for our boys, and they play for him. So
That's
I
awesome.
I put it all on my kids and their work ethic and their determination to be who they are.
Work ethic is something I think that we see a lot. Kids just naturally have it. Maybe they get it from watching an older sibling, which, I'm sure brings Carter some joy that his brothers are so successful,
Yeah,
from watching him work hard. I think that's really just important.
right.
My kid's an only child, so he didn't have that. It was all on him.
Yeah. Well,
But that's really special.
so unfortunately, fortunately, I'm a high school teacher, and all the boys that play lacrosse know who my boys are, and my boys have had a huge impact on a lot of people, which is pretty impressive. But I called this family because the dad had sent me an email about his son, and his grades were slipping in my class. So it was just a professional conversation. But when I'm just not an emailer, like, I'll just call the people, I'm like, hey, this is Mrs. Parlette calling to talk about your son. He was like, well, first of all, before we talk about school, I want to talk about your boys and how much my boys look up to them. And, we appreciate and it's just sweet to see. And I think that's the community we're in. And I think it's everywhere, right? But these kids give back to that, like, my boys will do some clinics and other kids will do clinics, and the little guys just love I mean, it's just a sweet thing. And to hear people talk about your children like that, like, I just view them as my kids, but it's very special and meaningful. And I hope my kids can always, like, give back, to our community and to the lacrosse program.
Anytime somebody can say they're a two-time national champion, that's pretty impressive. How did your daughter handle having 3 such successful brothers,
She's a
playing
great big
sports?
sister. I mean, she was, like I said, she's always been a little older. When we moved here, people are like, I never even knew you had a daughter. She was in college when we moved here. Um, but she's been to all the national championship games. She goes every year to at least one of the boys' games and watches. She's a big supporter. Yeah.
Sounds
I,
like a great family.
well,
Good
I'm
job.
not sitting here bragging about us. We have a lot of things that
No, that's
aren't
amazing.
perfect about us, but yeah, I do have to say, like, um, it's just working. So we're just gonna keep on doing what's working.
If you went throughout the whole process, looking back, is there something that you would have changed or you wish you knew that you do know now that would be good advice to somebody that's going through this process?
I mean, I wouldn't change anything we did, just because of the outcome we've had and the success that we've had. I'm trying to think if there's anything I would change. Like I said, you don't have to spend, like, we spent some money. There's no doubt, traveling every weekend with 3 boys and joining different teams and this and that. And like I said, I don't think you have to do all of that. Not that I would change any of that for my own children, but you don't have to do all of that to have success. Um,
Is there anything that you kind of learned along the way that you didn't know then that you can say, this is one major thing that we learned throughout the process or looking back?
Did you
um,
learn anything from what happened with Carter then to carry over to how you prepared Nolan to how you prepared Tanner? Is there anything, like, maybe that you did with Carter that you were like, when it was Tanner's turn, you're like, "Oh, wait, we gotta maybe do this or maybe do that," or maybe it's just, as simple as not playing as many tournaments or playing specific tournaments that you knew coaches might be at or
yeah.
more, that type thing?
Think of one particular thing. I mean,
But also, I think that's very genuine, like, if nothing stands out, I think that's a statement in itself.
Here's a big question for you. Ready?
yeah, sorry.
Okay. What are 3 things that you always bring?
We have some awesome moms who always make the rosters for us to wear. with everyone's number and name and parents' names. So shout out to all those moms that make those because I always bring that. So I appreciate that. And probably my lip gloss.